Hey, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to the Hanging On to Hope podcast.
I'm Brenda J.
And I'm Karen Wonder.
And we are hangingontohope.org.
This podcast is intended as educational and is not psychological or medical advice. Always consult a professional when needed, and we disclaim any liability in connection with the instruction, information, or advice given.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Hanging On to Hope podcast. This is Brenda J. Today, we have Deenbo Kidane on the show. Deenbo is the director of the Daniel Initiative, a network of pastors and church leaders from all over the world. She's also the director of children's and youth ministry at Bethel Ethiopian Missionary Church. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on the show. So this is Karen. It's nice to officially meet you. Did you want to share a little of your story and how it led to starting the Daniel Initiative?
Sure. So as you have mentioned, my name is Deenbo Kidane. I am from Ethiopia. It's a little country found in East Africa. I was born there. I migrated here when I was 11 years old with my whole family. And my story is a little different because my parents had a good life back home, and my grandpa lived here since my mom was 2 years old in America. So she never met him. He had a heart attack. She came to meet him, and then she ended up learning about the opportunity that America had and thought it would be great for her. You know, there's 6 of us. So her and my dad decided to move us out here. And just to make a long story short, so we just sold everything we have there and moved out here. It was very traumatic for us. And keep in mind, there was no war, there was no persecution. It was still very traumatic for me, that whole change at age 11. So I came out here, we tried a few American churches. Finally, there was a church that was planted, an Ethiopian church in Arizona. And so I've been in that church for the past close to 30 years now. And I started doing children ministry when I was in high school. Then I got promoted to youth ministry. Then I was the teacher, but then I became the director. And then eventually I realized there's a problem. After high school, we didn't know what to do with our kids because, including me, because most of them spoke English. They didn't understand our ethnic language. So I started a young adults program so they can find a place, community of belonging. Daniel Initiative was a ministry that started by Pastor Josh Prather and Pastor Michelle Duarte about 7-8 years ago. They go around visiting immigrant churches. So they happened to come to our church and got to meet us and were very inspired. And we were inspired by them. Well, they were inspired by us too. And so we just kind of started talking, and one thing led to another. And here I am.
So what does Daniel Initiative do?
So Daniel Initiative it's a ministry that encourages, equips, and empowers immigrants that are here in Arizona that have planted churches. And so it's kind of coming along pastors that are from all over the world that are here. This is home now, right? And so it's creating networks because there's a lot of isolation with immigrant churches, right? They just tended to kind of stick to what they've done back home. And so to create a network for them to connect with other churches, especially American churches, and to create a community of belonging so that we can actually learn what it means to interdependent on each other, because we're all going to the same place at the end. And so it's important that we kind of start living this life together. We have something, well, I speak for the immigrant church. We have something that most American churches need. And then American churches have something that we need. And so that's what Daniel Initiative does. And then when I took over, I started doing especially focusing on the second generation, who are children of immigrants born and raised in America who struggle in identity crisis. So we focus on those two.
Very interesting. It sounds like it's really a needed ministry.
Yes.
Besides the Daniel Initiative, you are the director in children's youth ministry. So is that part of the second generation that you help, or what exactly do you do with the youth? Because I know you love those kids. I've heard you talking about that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I started, like I said, in children ministry. So then some of the kids that I'm with right now that have that are helping me with ministry, I've known them since they were like in their mother's womb. So I've walked with them since birth. And, some of them are like getting married now. A couple of them are getting married soon.
Wow.
So it's beautiful for me, such a blessing. But yeah, for the most part, I focus on, so I do the English speaking programs. Anything that involves English, I'm it for my church. So yeah, I do the English night service, which is the one I started about 8 years ago. We have a night service, which we call just young adult service. It's Sunday nights. It's in English. So anyone in high school and college and even adults are welcome to come. And that one is a discipleship program. And then we have all the way from age 2 all the way to high school. Then we have Sunday school programs that are all English. So what I do is I mentor kids that are 18 and up, and then we kind of place them back into the church, into teaching the other kids. So all my teachers throughout Sunday school are all the ones I mentored, are the ones that I've walked with. Now they go back and teach the little ones because we have like 4 classes in the church. Amazingly, about a year ago, we got a call from an Indian church, actually, and we were asked if we could help. So some of my young adults actually every Sunday morning go to this Indian church to teach Sunday school there too. There's about 6 of them that do that.
Wow.
That's great.
So what you're doing is so important. So important.
It is.
With that
It
age
is.
group, and even that they're actually interested in church and interested in discipleship. That's huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's everything that Pastor Sanyun says. When you create a community of belonging, when you create a space of belonging for these kids, of course they want to stay.
Yeah.
We hear all the time that, the silent exodus. I don't know if you've heard of it. Most immigrant churches suffer from that. Silent exodus is most predominantly immigrant churches. This is everyone, right? This is the Hispanic community, Asian community, African community, and South American communities. When they start a church, plant a church, and it's mainly in their mother language, and then they have kids here in America, which the kids technically supposed to be Americans. And so they go to school, speak English, they come home and they hear Hispanic or they hear some, other African languages. And it's hard for them to kind of fit in both of them. So they kind of tend to stick to what is the easiest for them, which is very difficult. And that is why the silent exodus happens, because when they get to high school, when they get to 18, when they get to have a car, then they just leave that church and don't come back. Right? If you're lucky, they go to another church. But for the most part, they just don't go to church at all, because even when they go to American churches, there is no sense of community of belonging for them. And so they just kind of walk away from the church in general. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such an important age. It's critical.
It is. Yeah. We both have 3. I have 3 kids in their 20s, and so does she.
Yeah.
So we understand. I mean, they don't want to go to church. They believe in Jesus, but they don't want to go to church. So yeah. So
you say that you work with the youth and they struggle with second generation trauma. Did you want to expound on that anymore?
Yeah. So, it's funny because if we had this conversation with immigrants, they'll tell you like, what? This is not trauma, right? My parents, even my parents didn't think I didn't have any trauma. I would tell them about my trauma and they just kind of be like, what is the big deal? I understand why they're saying that, because they actually come from like, you know what I mean? Like they come from places where they've seen so much. So for them, me I've been kicked out of stores before in Scottsdale, right? When I was younger, because they just thought I was going to steal or something. I don't know. It was horrible. I had a horrible experience in Scottsdale when I first moved out here from Ethiopia, me and my siblings. And so me and my sister were kicked out of the store, and I would go tell my mom, and she'd be like, just go to the other store. That's okay. But that wasn't that simple for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So define trauma for immigrant communities is different. The word trauma by itself is completely different. So I just wanted to make that point, because it's not that the first generation doesn't validate my trauma. They just don't think it's trauma, because they think trauma is something that causes you fear. My mom always says, rejection is bound to happen. At some point, someone's going to reject you. You can't, you know what I mean? You can't consider that a trauma, but But it made me afraid of people, certain kind of people, and made me hold back and made me shrink. And so I see that in a lot of second generation that I mentor. I see that they are not living up to their potential. Because why? Because Pastor Saying always tells us, right, if there's no safety, then no one is living up to their potential. So in that sense, yeah, it's traumatizing for them because they don't know where to fit. You know what I mean? Like my parents are Ethiopian. So in my community, their children are not Ethiopian enough, right? So they don't really fit in with the Ethiopian community, but then they're not also American enough, right? And so they don't fit in the American community either. So it's like, I don't know where I belong. And that creates fear. The identity crisis starts then because the identity problems start at a very young age because, they're told, where are you from? And you can say, I'm from here. And people will still be like, but where are you really from?
Yeah.
I don't mind getting that because I wasn't born here, but my kids to get that. But they're like, I'm from here. They're like, but where are you really from? My sister, me and my sister always have this conversation where it's like, then our kids always end up saying, well, okay, my parents are from Ethiopia and I was born here. They always have to explain that,
Yeah.
And so that creates indirectly, it's a rejection, right? And so it does start at a very young age. And then when they get to their 20s is when they start struggle with depression, suicidal thoughts, self-hatred. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that because I'm not good enough to be here. I'm not good enough to be here. So it must be my fault. There's something I'm doing wrong, right? Yeah. We see a lot of that. Yeah.
And then I think to try to see if I'm understanding this right, first generation trauma is completely different from the second generation trauma where the first generation's not understanding the type of trauma that the second generation's going through. So that it's kind of almost invalidating it, right?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. I said that right?
Yeah.
I had that in my mind.
It is.
Okay.
It is in a way. Yes. In a way invalidating it because they don't see not
trauma.
Being able to fit in and rejection. They don't consider that trauma. They consider that, I had a long conversation with this with my mom because I'm like, how are you? I mean, we all went to a gas station one day to go to church on a Sunday. And we walked in to get chips, and then my dad went to get gas, and the guy just started yelling and telling us to leave, so we left. I mean, they were not bothered at all. Here, me and my sister and my siblings were like, it was very painful for us. They're not bothered at all. Continued the day as if nothing happened. I'm like, wow.
They almost expect it more. Is that why? Or
they, they're like, well, this is not our country.
Yeah.
We're not from here, so they can treat us like that. Yeah, it makes them feel Americans are not as welcoming as we are. Because if you come to Ethiopia, you get the most amazing hospitality and treatment, right? You get treated like queen and king. So my mom and my dad's understanding is, this is not our country, and they're not as welcoming as we are. They're not as people lovers as we are. So this is who they are. That's just accepted. But I don't know if that's the case. And also I have African American youth in my group, a few of them who have completely separate reaction to this, right? Who go through the same thing as we do.
Yeah.
We as immigrants, and they do it as just colored people.
Yeah.
And they have a similar but different reaction to it. Very similar experience, but different reaction to it. And then I work with 3 Hispanic churches right now. Same thing. It's something that is common when you have immigrant parents, right? It's very common when you have an immigrant parent to feel like you don't fit somewhere. And then for the African Americans, it's common when you are in certain area. It's broken up in systematically socioeconomic places. So it's so interesting to me. I'm still learning a lot about this. It's so interesting to me to talk to young people about this, and young people from different background, different walks, different culture, and then trying to put all that in America, which is, I think it's beautiful to me that only in America can this even be possible, right? Because if you go to Ethiopia, everyone's Ethiopian. There's no diversity. Diversity is impossible in Ethiopia. And so it's beautiful, but at the same time, it's got some issues, obviously.
Yeah.
So we deal with different things in America than And I'm starting to realize with the things my daughter tells me, because she's half Chinese. So it's not the same thing. It's not second generation, but just me invalidating things because I didn't understand, because I was ignorant about them. But
Awesome.
it just reminds me of like in the trauma world and all the podcasts we've done, you know, trauma that is to one person, two people could go through the same experience, and what's traumatic to one person may not be to the other, but we should never invalidate somebody's trauma.
Yeah.
Very
So,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, we all
Very
have
good
different
point.
nervous systems and everything.
Yeah.
That's right.
Sometimes I wish I was more resilient to stuff, but
Yeah.
not really.
Immigrant parents are very resilient, which makes them prone to kind of judging their own children.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
makes them prone. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if they understand that and have self-awareness, if they're doing it like I had to have with my daughter, then I can stop doing that and be more sensitive to how she's feeling.
That's right.
So you say you consider yourself the bridge because you are in both worlds. You understand the first generation, but you also understand the second generation. You're called 1.5. You weren't born in America, so you have open-mindedness to both. The second generation struggle with identity loss the most. Can you explain why this is the case?
Yeah. So I'm 1.5. So I guess they say if you came here before, it used to be 2 or 3 and under. That's what I thought. If you came here at age like maybe 4 or 5 under, 2, 3 under, then you're considered as if you were born here. But anything between that to 16, you're considered 1.5. And then 16 and up, you're an adult. But now they've moved it. So I guess if you came here before the age of 12, then it's like you were born here. So I came here around 11 and a half. So I can't be considered someone born here, honestly. But that's what they tell you with the study now, which I kind of disagree with, because I came here at 11 and a half and I didn't lose the culture. I didn't lose the language. I didn't lose any of that. I just gained more. I gained more of what American culture is, and different language and different way of dealing with things. And so I still consider myself 1.5. Now, I think 1.5s are like very unique people, because especially me, we have this bicultural, bilingual, by everything, threading in both cultures strongly, actually. I get so excited when I meet a 1.5 person, because we can sit down and talk for hours. And like, we just love, like, it doesn't matter what culture they came from, what country they came from. We're exactly the same all the time. I promise you. It's so amazing. I get so excited. So I feel like 1.5s, not just me personally, but like all 1.5s, I think are great at being a bridge, because they understand both cultures, right? I met this white American girl who was raised in Thailand. And so even with her, she was born here in America, and she was taken at age 2 because her parents are missionaries, and she grew up there until she was 18. Even with her, me and her are identical, like same struggles, same way of thinking, even though she's white and she's American. And so it's like, it's just your atmosphere that conditions you, you know? So we're sitting down talking and laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're a 1.5. And she's like, I guess I am. So we're laughing. Yeah, I think it's just the ability at a young age to adapt into 2 different worlds that are very strongly around you. Because even though my parents were the only, Arizona didn't have a lot of Ethiopian community. It does now, but it didn't when we moved out here. There wasn't even a church. So even though it was a very small community, they were very strong. My parents were very strong. A lot of immigrants are very strong in their cultures. You know that. They're very strong in their cultures. And so they drill that in their children. And so because of that, there's 2 strong cultures. And then obviously everything else is you're in America. So there's 2 strong worlds. And I feel like I was reading a lot of stuff about this, and they tell you whichever one's the dominant one. Only a few families that are maybe that came at a young age, like me, for example, now, which I kind of don't like. But me and my husband was 14 when he came. I was 11 when I came. And so we're both not that strong. We're not drilling our cultures and our kids like our parents did, because, you know, we've been here for so long. Unless you have cases like that. I've never met a first generation, came at an adult age immigrant that doesn't drill their culture in their kids. Right. Not really. Yeah,
I haven't.
Yeah, they're so kids grow up in that kind of environment, have to learn. You walk in the house, you're a different person. And then you walk out the next morning, you're a completely different person. It's literally two identities. It's crazy.
Oh,
I never even thought of that.
And so, yep. And so some kids, which are mostly 1.5s, mostly those that were kind of birthed in a different country and kind of came here at a good age like me, can handle it, actually thrive in it. They actually do good with it. And then those that are born here don't do very well with it because it's very confusing. It's very confusing for them to be in a two different world at the same time. And both of them don't validate them. Both worlds don't see them for who they are. Both worlds don't acknowledge them. Both worlds don't have places for them. And so it's pretty sad. This is why I'm very passionate about what I do. And the trauma part is not knowing who you are. When you don't know who you are, then you don't know your purpose. When you don't know your purpose, then you can imagine, right?
right.
When you don't have a purpose, then life makes no sense. And so suicidal rates are very high among second generations. It's sadly very high because they don't know their purpose. They don't know why I've heard this so many times. I don't know why I'm on earth. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what life doesn't make any sense. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty sad.
And that's where you come in your ministry to walk alongside them and bridge that gap.
Yes. So my ministry, what I do is, so I try to bridge the gap by being voices for both. So I go to the kids and I try to explain to them why their parents are the way they are. So I show them videos of history from their country, what they went through. And I tell them cultural values, like not expressing what you went through. It's very big in my country, especially. You don't talk about what happened to you in the past.
Yeah.
You just don't. And so I teach them that. I show them that. You'll be shocked how much, when you communicate to them, how much it makes a difference. Like so many kids have said to me, oh my gosh, I have so much respect for my mother now, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great what you do. That's so important.
It's so life altering for some of them. And then there's some that are like, okay, so how do I connect with my parents? So then I go to the other side, to the first generation side. I'm a little more rougher to the first generation side because they're resilient. I know them.
Yeah.
They're stronger. So I'm like, you cannot, you know what I mean? Tell me you can't do this. You can do this. You can humble yourself and come down to the level of your kids and communicate in their language. You can do it at work. You can do it at home. If you do it at work, you can do it at home. So yeah. And then for the kids, the other thing that we focus on is identity in Christ. So Christ identity is the big part of my ministry. What I tell them is, you cannot know who you are. You cannot find yourself in your parents. You cannot find yourself in America. You cannot find who you are in things you do, but you can find yourself in Christ Jesus. So if you seek Jesus and get to know him, then you'll find yourself.
Yeah.
You'll find the real you, the original you, the one that Jesus Christ created before the foundation of the earth. So even when I take my kids with me to lead worship or conferences, speak or whatever, if I take them with me and I introduce them, I say they're not Ethiopians, they're not Americans. They're from the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah,
they're here to
awesome.
represent Jesus Christ. And so I say that to them constantly. Doesn't matter. You're not Ethiopians, you're not Mexicans, you're not Asians, you're not American, you're not this. You're not from this world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're here to plant the kingdom of heaven here on earth.
Yeah.
And so and that's where you'll end up when you're done. When you're done with your purpose, you're not going back to Ethiopia. You're not going to stay in America. You're actually going to the kingdom of God. So
that's right.
That's what we focus on.
Wow. And how old are your kids?
I have, my son just turned 19. I'm getting old. My firstborn just turned 19. He's at GCU. My daughter is 17. And then another daughter, she's 12. And then the last, I have one boy. And then the last daughter is 7. Actually, she just turned 8. She'll get mad if I say.
Oh, wow.
Wow, you got a wide range.
Yeah.
I had all mine 3 together.
I kept thinking I'm done, and then they just keep popping up.
Yeah, that last podcast we did, he was adopted and he didn't know where he came from. Like, his family was from. And I just kept remembering the scripture, by one spirit, we're all baptized in one body, because I had that hanging on my wall. My kids are mixed. So
yeah. And he talked about that too, how he didn't know what his identity was, because he knew he wasn't I think his mom was white. His adoptive mom was white, and his dad was Hispanic. Well, then he found out that his birth dad was Black and his birth mom was white. And I mean, they had this incredible story about meeting, in racist Arkansas in this early 70s and how it was just an incredible story. But I just was struck a lot of what you were saying. He struggled with his identity and a lot of the same things you're talking about.
Yep.
I mean, your identity is just so important as you, go through the different stages of life.
Yeah.
And I heard that. Yeah. And I heard that's the biggest thing that the enemy is after too. Because if he steals your identity, then
it doesn't matter your age. I've been through trauma and abuse, and I struggled so much to find my identity because I was in an abusive marriage for 22 years. I didn't even know who I was when I got out. But I have to keep going back to the Bible and who Christ says I am, and I'm of the kingdom. Yeah. And when I start to think like that, it changes everything. But when I try to worry about who I am in the world, it doesn't go so well.
Exactly.
So I totally 100% agree with what you're doing. Yeah.
So you say you do not assimilate, do not isolate, but try to thrive in the spirit that God has given you, which is found in Daniel and his excellent spirit. The first generation parents are not validating the second generation kids, what you were saying. What is traumatizing to the second generation is not affecting the first generation parents the same way. Can you explain the dynamic? Well, you kind of already did that, but do the first generation, do they not realize? I guess they don't realize that they're doing that.
As a parent, you want your child to be like capable of handling it. See, this is the thing. In my culture, we come from a country where it's like emotional problems are for kids. Right? So imagine my life, because all I deal with is emotional problems all day long. So there's this constant battle, because sometimes I have to go back and talk to some of the parents and I have to deal with them. And I'm like, well, she's feeling this way. And they'll be like, why? Why is she feeling that way? You know what I'm saying? Like, I made sure she's safe. I made sure she has everything she needs that I never had. I made sure that she's getting the education that I never got. I made sure she has all the gadgets that I never even dreamed about having. I gave up so much to come here so she can have the best life. I give her everything. Why does she have emotional problems? So this is what I deal with constantly. Yeah. I just think it's so funny because I already know what they're going to say when I go there. Yeah. And so this is, again, being the bridge. I have to constantly remind them it's not a battle of materialisticness. It's not a battle of lack. It's a battle of who I am. It's a battle of like not enough support, not enough love, not enough validation. And I always take them back. And this is what gets them. A lot of parents have turned when I say to them, when you were back home, their age, who did you have? It takes in my culture, the whole village is involved. Like if someone sees you doing something wrong, you don't even have to know who that person is. They call you by your name. I don't know everyone in my neighborhood, but the adults know everyone. So they call you by your name. They're like, aren't you so-and-so's daughter? What are you doing here? Come on, I'm going to walk you home. I mean, the whole village. And I always tell them that you had everyone involved in what you needed to learn life skills, to learn building bridges, building friendship, and all your emotional things. If your mom didn't understand, you went to your aunt. If your aunt didn't understand, you went to the neighbor. If the neighbor didn't understand, these kids don't have that.
Yeah.
They don't have that. They don't have that community. You have never created that atmosphere for them. And you can't. It's impossible for you to do that. So the least you can do is at least listen. Yeah. Hear it out so it's not invalidating. It's just they validate it, but they're like, but this is nonsense. It can't be considered a problem, Yeah. Because I went through worse. Yeah. I made it. And so it's kind of like toughening them, but like it doesn't work.
Yeah, I can see how there would be both sides.
Yes.
They would be like, I sacrificed everything so you could have all these things.
Yeah.
But just
understanding. And you're still complaining.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of understand when I was raising my kids, I had to work all the time and I felt like, oh, I'm doing this and this and this, and I'm providing for them and giving them this and that. And I felt like that was enough. But, I missed out on a lot of the emotional part because they're biracial. So I didn't pick up on that. I just thought because I was providing, because I did what my parents did, that was enough. But I'm finding out now it wasn't. So
exactly, and it's a good place to be. I'm glad you guys are having these conversations about it. Because it's
a good conversation. Yeah.
How has trauma-informed training along with Bible verses helped this second generation of trauma victims?
Wow. Well, let me tell you.
To be continued. Stay tuned for next week's part 2. You don't want to miss it.
Thanks for tuning in to Hanging On to Hope. Check out our website, hangingontohope.org. There are resources on there, and if you would like to donate or volunteer, you can do that through our website. We are a brand new nonprofit, so we appreciate any and all support. And we thank you for listening, and until next time, keep hanging on to hope. We are evidence that there is hope and healing for you, and our passion is to help you find it too. So thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening, everyone.